NERDSoul.
All right, late ill kid at OneYoungsta holding it down, bringing that StreetGeek and NERDSoul. What is up, my people? NERDSoul Gaming, we back. That's right, believe that we back. It's been a minute, but we got some stuff to talk about. And when I say we, that's right, I ain't by myself, y'all. We are joined uh, by a member of the FGC, an esteemed colleague, the man, the myth, the legend. I give to you, Open Mind. What's up?
What's up, FGC family? What's up, NERDSoul family? Thanks for having me back as usual. Glad to be back. Shout out to Solar Gray for no reason at all, just to shout him out.
Yeah, he,
Just to,
he he dope like that. He dope like that.
hold on, I want to do my best Denzel impression. Shout out to Solar Gray for no reason at all because he's just a good guy. And I'm doing my finger right now. I'm doing my Denzel finger.
Oh,
Right?
the Denzel point.
I'm doing the Denzel point when I shout out Solar Gray. The wackest Denzel
Oh boy.
impression ever. I love that dude, man. I don't see him that much, but every time I come on your show, I think about the guy because
Yo, man,
that's just one of my favorite people.
he cool for real, for real. Now, what is it? I wanted to. There was something that I wanted to talk about when I saw a video sent to me by Coop from Blurtish, and it's a video from what is it? Spawn Wave. A video from Spawn Wave, his channel. He talks about gaming and stuff, and in this particular video, he talks about the budgets ballooning and swelling to these like astronomical amounts. And if you're looking for it, I'm gonna put the link to his original video down below. But if you know what I'm saying, if you ain't trying to read down there, the name of the title of the video is "The Gaming Industry Has a Serious Problem." And in the description, he says, despite this being a great year for game releases, along with big revenue numbers, it feels like the foundation for the gaming industry is getting shaky, with a heavy focus on live service games backfiring, causing shutdowns, cancellations, and layoffs. Things for the immediate future are not looking good. Now,
You know,
oh, go
just
ahead, go ahead.
not to brief cover. I want you to continue. When I watched that, I felt like he was on some doomsday stuff. But go ahead.
So, um, he does list out a couple of things. Well, he lists out a good amount of things, but they're all centered around this, and mostly around live service gaming. And of course, I play mostly FGC games. I play platformers too, but
Yeah.
I don't really play any live service games. But I do think there are things in this video and in this argument that applies to gaming as a whole. But I'll throw it to you, Open Mind, when it comes to this video, when the things that he was laying out, and I'll lay out some things that he was talking about. But what was the general vibe you got about this video? Is he on to something? Is he not? Where you at on it?
I mean, general vibe, because I don't remember everything he was saying verbatim, so don't get me the line and trying to like go off the dome. Because I was listening to it while doing other things, right? So let me just, I was letting the video play. I had my headphones in, my phone in my pocket, but I was moving around, so I wasn't even really watching it because my phone was in my pocket. But I was listening, and what little small clips I did look at with my eyes, I saw him you doing his little presentation. I mean, he brings up some facts. I can't say he's lying per se, but he still can't definitively say these things that he's saying. I just think overall vibe, without going into explicit detail, because I'm gonna let you have it in this regard, because I didn't really do a whole in-depth dive into the guy. I just think he's just kind of like jumping the gun here. Okay, you pointed out some things that are you can't, nobody can argue it. I'm not gonna argue, but at the same time, it's like, okay, but that doesn't definitively mean that that's what's happened. Like, you're not in the studio with these people, you're not talking to these people, right? You're just looking at stats without context, right? So because he doesn't have the full context of all of this stuff, he just has what's the public information. He himself can't definitively say that. So I just kind of think I saw the video for what it's worth. I'm just like, all right, okay. And I don't really play live stream service games either. I'm an FGC person and I'm a adventure game person, RPG person. So I don't see this affecting me as a gamer. So I'm just I'm trying to figure out, like, really what am I supposed to be as a gamer concerned about after watching his video? That's my rhetorical question, because I'm not concerned. I'm not moved, and nor am I at all shaken. It's like, okay, this is this guy's strong opinion. Okay, but that doesn't necessarily mean it make it so. That's the best way. That's my best overall.
Okay. When I watched the video, at first I was like, well, you know what? This doesn't really, like this doesn't really, kind of like it's not my backyard. But
Yeah,
then I was wondering, I was like, you know what? This could be because these studios don't exist in a bubble. They make other games. And
yeah,
I was like, this could be like kind of like the canary in the coal mine, maybe.
yeah. It's
Because when he brought up, because I didn't know that Epic had layoffs. Because Epic, and he brings up, and I'll talk about it in a second. Um, Epic has Fortnite, and pretty much, even if you're not a gamer, you know about Fortnite. Fortnite is huge; it's everywhere. There's ads on TV. There's, pop-up installations. There's, musician collabs, sports collabs, Marvel collabs, Star Wars collabs, Hollywood actor collabs, all kinds of, voice actors, tons of
Mhm.
stuff. And it might be one of the most sort of like popular Hollywoody kind of games out there where it's a live service game, it's always on, there's not going to be a Fortnite 2, it's just Fortnite, and it just exists essentially kind of like forever in perpetuity, and it's been huge. You know what I'm saying? It's had like all kinds of like McDonald's tie-ins, like it's big.
But does it
And
have to have a part two?
well, no, not since it's a live service, it doesn't really need one. It just sort of continues on. So
It's like World of Warcraft. World of
yeah,
Warcraft went on for 10 years before they made a sequel type ish version. World of
yeah.
Warcraft went on all the way through the 90s and all the way through the early 2000s before they finally decided to make a new version of it. But it was the same World of Warcraft for almost 15 years. So I'm trying to figure out what the big deal is here.
Well, I think what he's worried about is the the slowing in the player base
Mm-hmm.
and then matching that with the layoffs, because the idea, I'm guessing, because I mean, of course I didn't talk to this guy personally, the idea I think is if the player base is slowing and they're doing layoffs, they've got access to other information that we don't have,
Right.
that is spelling negative for Epic in terms of Fortnite. And if Fortnite is the king of the hill with these types of games, if the king of the hill is having problems, then the idea is that the duke, the duchess, the governor, the peasants, everybody is going to feel it sooner or later when it comes to like these lesser known live service games. And then getting into the budgets and what they have to do to kind of, I guess, be solvent on them, because these budgets, he made a point about how budgets are being mentioned more and more in these games, and it is true. It's the way we talk about, or the way studios talk about budgets for games now is similar to how Hollywood talks about budgets for games, or how, like people might talk about like salary caps and things like that, where it's like, it's almost like a stunt for a studio to be like, we're spending 100 million on this game, we're spending 200 million on, and it's like, whoa, isn't that a lot? And then when you play it, you're not really having fun. And I'm wondering, I want to throw it to you. Do you think when it comes to like these larger AAA titles, even games that aren't live service, games like he brought up Suicide Squad, and with that you can kind of talk about like Arkham and stuff like that came before it. Do you feel like you're seeing the money on the screen with these games, or do you feel like these things are kind of inflated for kind of like ticket price purposes?
I think a little bit of both. I see the money on the screen and I think it's inflated at the same time. I think those two things are true. But I
Mm.
also want to throw this into the fire, this little curveball, and
Okay.
this is just me still learning on the fly here about this whole thing, because like I said, I skimmed through the video in my listening process. I didn't really do a deep dive. Maybe he's not considering some other economical factors that have nothing to do with gaming at all, but everything to do with the way the economy is crashing as we speak. We're dealing with inflation. We're dealing with the increased cost of living. We're dealing with a decrease in the cost of in the income. You know, a lot of across the United States, people are suffering economically. They're scraping by. They're
We're
barely
like
making it.
sort of like a year, maybe 6 months outside of a pandemic.
Right. And a lot of people are still recovering from that pandemic while
Many.
also dealing with current inflation. Gas here in Texas is averaging $3.99 a gallon, $3.75, $3.85, $3.50. You might find a mom and pop gas station that's selling it for $3.25, $3.09. But that mom and pop gas station ain't nowhere near where you live. Where you
Yeah.
live, the gas is $3.59,
Yeah, it's
$3.79.
all out the
You
way.
know what I'm saying? And then that's average here in
You want to
Houston.
buy a loaf of
What
bread,
about
that'll be $12.99.
right? What about the West Coast where gas is
Bruh,
average $5 a gallon? I mean, we
bruh.
can let's
We was looking
when
at
I'm
$6 before I
so
moved.
so when I say I'm throwing this curveball, I watched the presentation, or at least I listened to the presentation, and he's throwing these numbers out. This budget, that budget. These companies don't have budget. These companies laying people off. If your reference point is the fact that people aren't playing the live stream service game, so to speak? Because I take that back. I do play Smite. I forgot. I do play Smite,
Okay,
but that's
okay.
the only live stream game I play, like live service game I play that's always live, and that's Smite. Yes, I do play Smite. I forgot. But outside of Smite, I don't play Apex Legends. I don't play Fortnite. I don't play
Yeah.
none of that. But Smite has been going on for at least 7 years, and I got into it 5 years ago. But to say definitively that because layoffs are happening and this is a doomsday thing, I don't think the reference point is I think the reference point is disingenuous. You're
Okay.
referencing the fact that people aren't logging into a game, and you're saying, well, since they're not logging in, they must not like the game, they must not be having fun, and they're not buying the microtransactions, the game is trash. That's to jump to the conclusion based off what you see. Well, I don't see a lot of people playing this game anymore, so it must be trash. That's the conclusion. There's no other reason other than the reason your mind just told you that, and you on YouTube did a whole 2-hour presentation on it without
Only
considering
2 hours.
inflation, without considering the cost of living going up, without considering people's economical situations. Maybe he himself isn't in a bad economical situation, so he couldn't fathom the thought that people are struggling out here. And people buy the games they can afford to buy, and they don't buy the games they can't afford to buy. So that plays a part in it, and it has nothing to do with liking or disliking a game, nothing to do with thinking a game is trash, or a game is not having good marketing. It's not marketing itself well, so therefore people are not buying. No, some things work. Some companies are marketing themselves well. Some companies are doing everything they're supposed to do, and customers do like their game, but they can't afford their game. So there's a term here that I want to throw into this bucket of fire here, and
All
that's
right.
affordability. Can the average person afford to buy these microtransactions consistently, which have nothing to
And
do
sort of
with
these pay to
liking
win
or
situations.
pay to win, nothing at all to do, separate issue with liking or disliking the game, but everything to do with what's in the bank.
Now he
And no other reason but that, but just that specific reason, and nothing outside of that, nothing else other than the fact that they don't have enough money, available disposable income to go play the game, to consistently buy the transaction, to consistently pay for the new version of the game for $60. Some things have nothing to do with a strong opinion about a thing, and everything to do with somebody's ability to pay. And because we don't consider that factor in a lot of things, We have these conversations and these strong opinions and these, well, my opinions, I have right to my opinion. It's like, okay, but I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying that you're not considering every factor. You're just taking the data that you have and you're making a presentation with the data that you have, but you haven't considered the other data, which is people are broke. And that's why they can't play the game that you got. For example, I'll use myself as an example. I don't own a PlayStation 5 because I'm too broke to buy one, which is why I haven't purchased Mortal Kombat 1, because you have to have a PlayStation 5 to play Mortal Kombat 1. It's not that I hate Mortal Kombat. It's not that I hate PlayStation 5. I can't afford to shell out that $500 right now with my wife and my 5 kids. I can't do it. I don't hate PlayStation. I don't have an issue with it. My bank account won't let me do it.
Now,
So
imagine this with that statement. Stay on your point. Hold that point.
Yeah.
That statement, the affordability of the PlayStation 5 has now affected the purchasability of MK1.
Thank you.
So now, PS5, people still saying it's hard to find them or hard to get them. Then, if you can get it, or if you're like, man, I can't afford this, well, guess what?
Right.
You now don't have that to then buy MK1. So now it's become exclusionary.
Yes.
And he touched on that, but going to finish your point, because he touched on affordability a little bit, but he kind of flew by it for a second.
He flew by it so quick, he didn't. He glanced over it, glossed over it, like most people do who are not in a financial situation where they could fathom that lifestyle. Most well-to-do people, even if they say they came from nothing, they forget where they come from. Because when I listen to them talk, they only reference their last few days, few weeks, few years of existence. They don't even go back to the time where they were struggling and didn't know what to do, didn't have the information, didn't have the connection, didn't have the skill, didn't have what they have now.
They act like they don't remember when Mama had to make the big pot of spaghetti to last all week.
And so when you start talking and addressing the public in your now successful form, you're speaking past people. And then people who ask you questions or hold you accountable, you get offended by those people and tell them to get their money up or get your weight up or, well, I've been where you are and I made it out of that situation. See, so I can't 100% run with somebody who's talking like he's talking. I have to assume without any evidence that this guy is not in an impoverished situation and he's not in a situation where he's hurting for money. He's in a situation where he can go get whatever game he wants, whatever system he wants, whatever, and participate in anything he wants to participate. Not rich, but if you just have the available disposable income, you can participate in a lot of the stuff that's really kind of like fun stuff anyway. It's not productive. You're blowing money at the end of the day. So if you have money to blow, you can buy these games. So then look at the metrics and look at the numbers and look at the statistics of what he presented. You're basing this off the conclusion. They sold this many copies, these many people are logging in, blah, blah, blah. But why? Where is the context? People talk on microphones, on podcasts, on radios, on TV talk shows, and nobody does context. That's why I love Solar Gray so much. That's one of the reasons. I know I joke around about the cigarette smoking, but here's the reason why I love Solar Gray so much. Because Solar Gray, when he speaks to the public, he speaks in context. So there's no way you can argue with him. And if you're arguing with him, you're just hating because he didn't say his opinion, he stated the fact. That's why I love that man so much.
He tries to consider, you know what I'm saying, like the different angles.
Yeah.
Because one thing I will say is he talks about people logging in, and even in FGC, we'll be like, this game is dead. You know what I'm saying? That game is dead because people are always posting up the Steam, you know, the Steam numbers or the PlayStation numbers or whatever. Like, this game is dead. And then the thing is, even if the game isn't dead, maybe it's having a bad week or something like that, or maybe there's just low people logging in, that kind of rhetoric could kill a game. Because now you have people all over Twitter and Facebook saying, or Instagram making videos saying, this game is dead, it's dying, blah, blah, blah. And people are like, man, well, it's dying. I guess I might as well not play. You know what I'm saying? And it may not be dying. It might just be that, you know, this week, most of the people that played just ain't in there. Maybe school just started, or maybe it's spring break or something. And people are, you know, vacationing. Who knows? But yeah, so I will give him a point. Yes, there is a point of like people not logging in and people not playing as much anymore,
Hmm.
but this year has been rough
Well, a
because
lot of
there's
people
there's a lot of people
economically.
that thought COVID was over, and COVID was like, no, 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 I ain't over. I ain't over. Now I ain't killing the game like I was in 2020.
Yeah,
But I'm gonna come back real strong in spring real quick. Then I'm gonna chill. Now I'm gonna come back real strong at the end of end of August real quick. So it's
yeah.
like
And
COVID ain't gone. And
like
I
yeah,
know
it's
people want to say it, but trust me, man, COVID is not the flu. It's not. But I mean, hey, maybe if it was the flu for you, fine. But he
well, I've
does
had
with the
COVID.
affordability. He does slide by this thing talking about Ubisoft and EA. He was like, back in say then meaning like the 80s, 90s, smaller developers, smaller indie creators couldn't get their games on shelves. But now with the digital wave, they can. And he said because of this digital distribution, it's easier for the small guy to find their customer base. Well, guess what? Their customer base is also EA's customer base. It's also Ubisoft's customer base. So
Hmm.
take the information that you were just talking about. I agree with. They love to play games. They want to play games, but they don't have the money like they used to just spend because now they're married, now they got kids, or maybe
Yeah,
mama's sick or whatever it is. So now I still want to play video games. I still want to blow off some steam for like an hour or so at the end of the day, or spend Saturday 2 hours, whatever, just playing something for fun. I could spend $69 on a game, $70 or $100 for the ultimate, pro pass or whatever. Or I could get Ninja Turtles, which is, oh man, I miss Ninja Turtles. Oh man, it was so fun. Oh, it's only $30. Or I got an email from Steam. It's on sale. Oh man, it's only $20.
yeah.
Or
That's when you.
these other indie games where it's like, oh, it's only $10. And remember, this is the same player base.
Same player base.
So I think
Because people who play Street Fighter play Mortal
this is
Kombat.
also hurting those pockets of these big guys too, because their games, he even said it, a lot of these live service games are starting to look the same. They're all looking the same. They all can do the same thing. Well, if you have that situation of sameness, plus
Hmm.
the fact that this is something new, it's interesting, and he made a point of new games that don't have the knowledge or the recognition tanking studios, and he brought up some studios that had to close their doors. But I might not take a 60, 70, 80, $100 chance on something unknown, but I'll take a $10 chance. I'll take a $20 chance. And if you get 100 people, 1,000 people, 100,000 people to take that $10 chance, now all of a sudden this indie this indie developer is actually doing better than Epic, even though they're not as big, which takes us back to the person I reference all the time, E40. When E40 said, I can sell a CD, that $10 is all mine. When you sell a CD, you get $1 off that.
Hmm.
And he was like, so even though I might be an indie creator and my game, I've only sold 100,000 copies, right? And, you know, I, they only spent $10 on it, but I'm not paying a licensing fee to Marvel. I'm not paying Hollywood actors for voices. I'm not all these extra headroom or, prices that you guys have. They don't. But it still eats into your profits because these people don't have 100 hours to commit to Gotham Knights, which I don't even know. Did Gotham Knights even release? Because I actually wanted that game. I think that's another game that got shelved from DC.
I
Um,
don't remember.
but
But to what you're saying, I mean, it's we don't know where this is going.
yeah,
Okay, and you take, like you said, they got to pay the Hollywood actor to do the voice, and
hmm
everybody's complaining about John Claude Van Damme and Megan Fox. So you done spent all this money on this to have your celebrity face, person, voice, whatever in your game to sell more copies.
Mm-hmm.
It would sell more copies if the economy wasn't so jacked up.
Yeah.
See, my entry point to this conversation is the economy. It's not gaming. I know we're talking about gaming. I know this guy is talking about studios tanking, but my entry point, if I was in his face, if I was on his mic or just in his face and I was talking directly to this guy, I would not use video games as my reference point argument. I would use inflation and the state of America's economy right now. Because if you don't consider that factor, if you just go off of what you see as far as companies failing and laying people off, and that's it, and then you're going to stop right there, and you're not going to go and delve no deep. Well, then you're dismissing a very important aspect to it. If nobody got no money, or if they don't feel like that this purchase is worth spending because I don't know where my next meal gonna come from.
Perfect. If it's worth spending. Yep.
I don't know if it is nothing to do with the look of the game, how much money you put into your game, how much marketing and promotion you do for your game, how many Hollywood actors you put in your game, and everything else about your game. Everything isn't necessarily a I don't like thing. The reason that people do things isn't always predicated on whether they like this or dislike this. People do things based off of circumstances. And when you put life into context, you can understand why people do what they do instead of just saying, why did you do that? Because they was broke, or because they didn't know where the next meal was going to come from. They had a flat tire. Whatever. Like, let somebody tell you why specifically you don't know. So why do we think we know? And I know I've been up and down in life. I'm 40 years old. I got a birthday coming October 4th. By the time this air, my birthday probably be in the past. So happy birthday to me on right here on the show. I'm 41 years old as of right now. And in my 41 years, I've been up financially and I've been down financially. So I understand the mindset of people who are up and understand the mindset of people who are down. People who are up dismiss people who are down. People who are down hate on people who are up. And neither one of those groups of people understand each other because neither one of them are living in that circumstance. So we're all kind of just reaching at each other at the end of the day, and nobody's talking to each other and nobody's listening to each other. So even if we're talking, we're not listening because we're ready for waiting on such and such to finish talking so we can dismiss everything they just said as an excuse. And nobody's listening to anybody. Nobody's understanding each other. Everybody thinks they got it all figured out, and the economy is still tanking. Gas is still high. The cost of living is going up, and salaries are going down. People are financially struggling. They cannot participate in a lot of stuff. That's my argument against the tournament person who tells me how many tournaments you won. Open mind. You call yourself a god on video games. You're a good fighter. How many tournaments have you won? I'm not participating in tournaments because I don't want to pay that money. I don't care about winning the jackpot.
You gotta go to whatever city, then you gotta pay to stay there. You gotta eat. I
don't want to buy a plane ticket to fly. I don't want to get a hotel room. That's why I don't participate. It's not because I can't beat you. It's not because I can't beat Punk, Sonic Fox, Daigo, Taquito, and all these people that y'all love. I can beat them. Yes, and I'm saying it on my mic. Yes, I can beat these guys. Just like Jab him, beat Taquito. I can beat Taquito.
You actually have beat some of those guys.
I have beat these guys. I got clips. The clips planted behind you. I'm saying that these guys are in my clips. I'm saying I can beat a pro player and I can be a pro player if I was in a financial position to do so. But the skill factor, I got the skill factor. I can mash these buttons and string combos together. You see it on the video. Look at the clips behind y'all as we talk. And master ranks. You see it. I put the evidence on the screen. I gave NERDSoul all of my footage so y'all can see. Look the name as these fights reel behind us. You'll see me going to the menus, opening up the profile to look at this person's information. That person is a master rank. I ain't got nothing but master rank clips on this video to show y'all. I'm not just talking. The evidence is playing as I speak that I'm just as good as these dudes. I don't have the money, and I'm not willing to spend it to prove that I'm good. I can sit on my couch and play for free, and when they come across my TV, I'm going to serve them this L and clip it and show it to y'all on NERDSoul's channel that I've been doing it. But I don't want to do it in such a way of Punk, Sonic Fox, Daigo, where I got to come out of my pocket to go prove to the world that I can play. No. I don't want to lose my marriage and ruin my life over that. Because what y'all gamers don't get is that a lot of y'all are inevitably single men because ain't no woman gonna let you blow $5,000 on a video game and not.
What did Punk say he spent $10K to get out there to Japan?
Punk ain't got no woman, bruh. Ain't no woman gonna let you spend $10,000 like that.
I'm gonna keep it real with you. If I got 10K in my hands right now, we're not going to Japan. You know what I'm saying? Because
if we go to Japan, she want to go sightsee. She don't want to go watch me play the video game. If we go to Europe, she want to come with me and sightsee. She don't want me to go by myself because I can't afford to bring her because I got a tournament. Like, y'all don't understand life when y'all on Twitter, type on YouTube or talk and run y'all mouths or even in the inbox about who's the best in the world. Like, I'm not listening to none of y'all because all of this is predicated on your financial circumstances, not your skill. That's what this is. The economy, inflation, America's economy. That is my entry point to this conversation about this dude talking about all the stuff he's talking about. Like, where is your reference point to people's financial situations as to why they're not playing games? Because if you don't consider that, then we can't talk.
Yeah, because he touched on the indie game, and I think that's a big part. And I'll talk about a personal situation why, but I think that's a big part. He also said monetization models are, they can hurt games, and I don't think they can hurt games. I think they are hurting games.
Mm-hmm. It's the business model, though. It's not the monetization itself. It's the business model of this monetization. Because you can monetize, but it's the way they do it.
I think a lot of gamers feel like they're being nickeled and dimed.
That is exactly, yeah.
And they're kind of like disengaging from that. Mm-hmm. So what happens is, you're like, all right, cool, we're going to make this game. We're going to have microtransactions, this, that, and the third. And it'll be free to play, but it won't really be free to play. Because what's going to happen is we're going to do all this. And what ends up happening, people either don't pick it up because they know it's going to be pay to win, or they just get the base game and that's it. Mm-hmm. Same with a lot of FGC stuff. The Street Fighter 6 is the most expensive game I've bought all year because Streets of Rage, I bought that. The game's older. Turtles, I think, came out. No, Turtles came out late last year, I think. But anyway, any game that I bought this year, which I can't think of right now. I don't feel like opening up my Steam, but whatever it was probably on sale, or it was some kind of like a holiday deal or something, which is still kind of a sale. So,
but not full price. Now, I bought
Street Fighter 6. Paid full price, got the extra stuff and all that, because I was like, yo, this looks sweet, it looks awesome, man. I enjoyed 5. This is a great step up. I can't wait to play it. There's so much stuff to do in it, and it has sort of like this open world element to it. There's tons of hours that you can spend on this, you know what I'm saying? But
it's definitely open world. Good.
Due to life changing on a dime for me,
you couldn't play it.
Now I don't play it, which goes to his point where he says a lot of people may not have the hours to dedicate to these games like they used to. Meaning,
and that also goes to the economy, because if you don't have no money, what are you doing? You're somewhere trying to make some money.
Yeah, you're trying to get that money.
You can't have time to play games.
Yeah, I can't. So it's like, instead I'll play a little quick game, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or maybe play like a little retro game where I can turn it on, play for like 30 minutes, be done.
Or a mobile game or
a mobile game. Instead of some game where like it'll take over your life. And I mean, I'm sure you've seen some of these memes that are like, this game takes over your life and it keeps sucking you back into the house. You're trying to get outside and it sucks you back in. And those memes and those videos and those skits are funny, but it's true. Like, who really has, when you come out like, oh, this game is so immersive, it's 100 hours. It's like, you start thinking like 100 hours? Okay,
Yeah.
100 hours. Well, I ain't got but like an hour or two per day to give to this. So like I'll never beat this thing. Or I'll never,
Mhm.
and not saying that those games don't have merit or those games aren't cool, but those games we might be seeing another turn where, just like we saw a turn where like platformers weren't the end all be all anymore. Maybe there's another turn getting ready to happen where people are like, no, I can't spend 100 hours playing this game. I need a game that's maybe like 10 hours, 20 hours, something like that. Instead
Or
of
I can
something
put a
where,
hundred hours in over time, right?
yeah.
Like sit down for 2 hours a day, and then each day or every other day I sit down for those 2 or 3 hours on that game. Will eventually add up to 100 because I'm already over 100 hours on Street Fighter, but
Hmm.
not sitting there just playing it. Like I work, I come
Yeah,
home,
and you didn't need to
and I sit
spend
down.
100 hours to win the game.
No, I didn't. No, no, I ain't do that.
So I I think there is a slight problem, but I think because he talks about like, is there a solution? With these ballooning budgets, and the expectations are going to be bigger. Of course, when you talk about like these, either the CEOs or the board of these companies, because they're like, hey, we spent 200 million. You know what I'm saying? Where the players at? Where's the money from the sales and all this stuff? We went and got these Hollywood writers to write this story, and then these Hollywood
Mhm.
actors and these musicians to get their face in the game and stuff. Where's our return?
Right, right.
I want to introduce y'all video game devs and publishers to a man known as Tyler Perry. Now, before I say this, Tyler Perry is not some amazing filmmaker, but Tyler Perry knows how to make money in
Hmm.
Hollywood because he
Hmm.
knows if I make a movie for $1 million and if my movie opens at $10 million, I'm good.
Yep.
See, if Avengers opens to $10 million, that is a flop. If Medea
Right.
opens to $10 million, that is a slam dunk. You know what I'm saying? It, and y'all need to stop spending this money on these games. Stop. Look, I know it's cool. It's a stunt to have these actors and actresses and these famous writers writing the story for your game. I know it's awesome. It's cool, but you don't need it. Just like
You don't
shouts to
need it.
RDC World, they did that skit where it was a developer. They made like this like hot new AAA title, and then the
Hmm.
people on Twitch were playing like this stick man game.
Hmm.
It's like, look, focus on creativity and keep them budgets down.
Because
The,
you can still
talk
make
about
you can
fifty
still make
million
a
dollars,
dope.
$100 million. No, you need to make a couple of games that cost like $2 million. Let them joints matriculate and stop
Look, you could do it
charging
for less than 2 million.
$70 for them things.
You could do it for 200,000. A
True.
dope game. And you don't need a whole team like a whole studio building where you got to pay a lease every month, and light bill and bills
Oh
every month.
yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, are we gonna
Because you're
ever
right. Also,
consider?
these crazy commercial, commercial buildings and commercial real estate that you paying for,
Listen,
because those buildings are basically there to stunt.
listen. My
And
uncle, my uncle is an ex football player. He played for the Texans. Right. He's my uncle by blood. My grandmama's youngest son. My mama's youngest brother. Me and him a year apart, but he's just my uncle by blood. He's instead of retiring as a football player and going broke, he took his money and put it in real estate here in Houston, right? And I work security at a lot of his construction sites when he need me to. It's not all, you know, it's not permanent, but he builds houses, right? He's a builder. He has his own company and had this company for the last 10 years. He's retired from the NFL back in 2011, I believe, ish, 2010, 2011 ish, and started his company some time after that, and has been doing that with his NFL riches. Instead of going broke, he did that. And I'm saying that to say he sells these buildings wholesale. He's not renting them out. He's the person you call when you want to have a building built, whether it's a house or a corporate building. It's a construction company that he owns. So you send him the schematics, he send you the invoice, of what he's gonna need, the materials and how much money it's gonna cost. There's a budget, all that stuff. He does all that. But I'm just saying, he sells these buildings wholesale, right? People who get into these buildings, where it's a home or a corporate building or a commercial building, that person has to pay a mortgage. My uncle sells it to the bank wholesale or whoever buys it wholesale. Then the bank mortgages it out to people, right? People who acquire my uncle's property that he builds, home, house, apartment, or commercial property, have to pay a mortgage for that. Let's say they hit my uncle up and say, yo, I want you to build an office for me with 4 rooms and a front desk and all that stuff. And he quotes him a price of $200,000, $300,000 for just the materials to build it. And then you got to get the land, all that stuff. All these taxes, all of these fees that you're paying just for the property that you stand on. They don't care if your business is a shoe store, a clothing store, a convenience store, a gas station, a home, a residential property, an apartment complex. They don't care what it is. If it's sitting on land, you're paying taxes on it. More than likely, you're paying a mortgage on it. So, before we sell a video game, before we create a video game, we got to pay the lease rent or the mortgage. Usually it's a lease if it's a commercial building. It's a mortgage if it's a residential building. Right? And then you got to pay all the utilities inside that building, because we're talking studios now, back on gaming now. A studio that has a brick and mortar and it's not done where everybody's working from home and they're emailing all their files to one person. No, these people come to a studio and stay at this place, and they got to pay light bill, internet bill, water bill. If they have a kitchen in there, they got to pay a gas bill.
And do you know how much it costs to heat and cool 100,000 square feet of office space? Bruh.
Before we spent the dime
so yeah, these studios is hurting
for the game, we had the overhead of just our building that we're in. That the studio, let's say AAA Studio. Let's just throw a name. Doesn't matter the name. AAA Studios got a 5-room office on the corner of 59th and Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. Right, and that's where y'all go to work every day. Before we paid the salary of the people coming through this door, before we paid for somebody to do a render or a sketch or do anything to code, anything to do with the game we're developing, anything small or big, we first got to pay our bills, and we have to pay these bills every month until the game come out. Before we make a game, the bank don't care what you're building. The bank don't care. We're building a video game studio, so we need y'all to not charge us monthly so we can put our game out. You can't say that to the bank. So when I hear people talking about what's happening out here in the world, if you ain't considering the economy in your talk, you just talking. Because these factors have to be considered before we even discuss the budget for the game.
And then they have to compete with the indie guy who just gets up with his friends at the local library for free and just schedules out the meeting room, or does all his stuff with his, say 3 or 4 buddies over Zoom or Facebook or FaceTime or Skype or Google Duo, whatever it is, and they work it out over that for free in their own home. They have to compete with those guys.
Yeah.
Because their game is in Steam, or a game is on PlayStation Market or whatever they call it. Xbox, is just like everybody else. So now you had to compete with that. You had to compete with that time that people are spending. And people come on there, like you said, with the money situation. They look at your game. They look at someone else's game. They've been able to see it played on Twitter. And they're like, oh, man, this game cost, $70. And, man, it's the hot game. Everybody's playing. It's so awesome. It's incredible. But this nostalgic game that I've been waiting for a minute just came out. I got an email from Steam, and guess what? This game is $19.99. Or these re-releases You know what I'm saying? There's tons of different things that eat into the cost. So I think he is onto something, but like you're saying, I don't know if he's considering how big a deal, because he mentioned the indie gamer, he mentioned people having time, he mentioned money and like economy, but he kind of like just slid by it real quick. And or
Mentioning
in
it
my
doesn't.
opinion, he slid by it. Someone else might watch the video and say, no, he covered it, extensively or whatever. But you know, it I think it might be a much larger deal
And that's all I'm saying.
than he is kind of like bringing forward. Like for instance, even if I look on my wish list for Steam right now, I think the most expensive game is like what, $39. That's still $40 cheaper than a AAA title. Like that's still, you're still coming in $40 cheaper. No, hold up. There's one that's $49.99. So then you're still talking about that's $30 cheaper. So I mean,
Hmm.
there's tons of games. There's tons of fun that you can have that you don't have to spend these AAA title dollars for. Like and then there's some that I have in the spot that you might be waiting for the sale. So
Hmm.
it's like, I'm like, all right, I'm waiting for that email to come through and tell me it's on sale. But there's this idea that just the price itself or the budgets themselves is bad, and I think that does hurt them. I think those budgets are really hurting them. But I don't think that, like you said, this economy is hurting. Well, also, I think people aren't realizing, and maybe they're sort of realizing now, it's all connected.
First of all, the writers just went on strike. They just got off strike, right?
Yeah,
Because I'm seeing everybody coming back. All these late night shows that I used to watch, especially Stephen Colbert. I love me some Stephen Colbert. I'm seeing Daily Show come back. I'm seeing a lot of TV come back, right?
yeah.
TV is back on now because the writers are back. But let's touch on that. And if y'all don't know what I'm talking about, scroll NERDSoul's archive down and keep scrolling until you find the video with him and Solar Gray talking about the writer's strike. I'm going to keep saying that
Yep.
because now this isn't nothing to do with gaming. I'm not saying the writer's strike is why people ain't playing games. I'm saying that's another example of the economy tanking. In that
Hmm.
moment, the economy for, let's say Hollywood's economy, right? Let's just call it that. Hollywood's economy for the last 3 months tanked, or 6 months, however long this writer strike's been going on. I don't know how many months, but let's just throw a number: 4 months. For the last 4 months, the Hollywood economy tanked. Nobody was doing no movies. Nobody was doing no TV shows. Nobody
And they
was
couldn't
writing
promote
anything.
those movies, and a lot of those movies flopped
Nobody
because
was
they didn't
making
have
no
any
money.
promotion. People weren't out. They weren't able to
And
push these things.
I'm sure without doing any digging, I'm just going to go out on a limb and throw this one up in the air and say that I'm sure some movies and TV shows got shelved during the writer's strike. And then
Yeah.
after the strike was over, they still on the shelf and never came back.
Unfortunately, we will not get a season 3 of the Wonder Years,
I'm just saying.
and
I don't know,
that show is beautiful. But
but
yeah.
I'm assuming that some shows got shelved during the strike. And now that the strike is over, those shows gonna stay on the shelf. Babe,
Hmm.
what's going on, babe? Oh.
So
So I'm thinking just using that to write a strike, for example. That's a situation where the economy tanked and nobody was making no money. So if ain't nobody making no money right here in Hollywood, and the same thing would work. Nobody going to see a movie. Nobody's watching a TV show that's not on TV to watch. You're not getting ratings if you're not there for me to give you the rating.
hmm
If I can't scroll on social media or flick a channel and find you, then that doesn't mean I don't like you. That means you're not on the air. And why are you not on the air? Because there's a writer strike. Why is there a writer strike? Because writers aren't getting paid. Why aren't writers getting paid? Because everybody's greedy. Like, you keep going and looking for the context of why things are instead of just looking at the conclusion. That's why I
and they
hate
did
statistics.
somebody did float the idea of expanding this to gaming too, because a lot of these writers that are that are not SAG, WGA, are
Mm-hmm.
also writing the storylines for these video games, just like these SAG actors are also
Mm-hmm.
doing mocap or they're doing,
Right.
voice acting. So they were actually floating the idea of stretching this or extending this to video games as well. Now, I don't know where it went. I saw a headline where they were talking about it, but I didn't like see where it went to. But this all is connected. Like, perfect example, you said the Hollywood economy, which is true. If the writers strike and then the actors follow right behind them, guess what? The makeup artists, they ain't
Yep.
on set making money. The people that build sets,
Ain't
they
making
ain't
no
making
money.
money. The gaffers,
Everybody
the
suffers.
people carrying
It's
the wires and plugging up
it's
the
a
lights, they ain't
domino.
making no money.
It's a domino.
It's all connected. Y'all be thinking, oh, this is just, what I'm saying, it's just the studios. Well, since Epic laid off 16% of the workforce, which the guy said in his video was about 900 people. That's 900 mouths at least that ain't getting fed.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if these people got families. Let's say half of them, 450 people got families. So when I say family, I say man, woman, child. At least one kid. Let's say they have one kid. So that's three people. So that's 3 miles not getting fed. They out in the workforce trying to make it, try to do something. They ain't trying to play no video games. They ain't trying to go see no movie this weekend because that dollar got to stretch now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They're not
Yeah.
taking a road trip to the beach this weekend. No, 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 no. I can't do that. I'm not going out to eat this weekend unless we talk about the dollar menu.
Right.
It's
And it's
like,
not the
bruh,
same though.
all this
Everybody's
stuff,
suffering.
all this stuff is connected. And when you lay off 900 people, like that stuff, that stuff hit.
If you're laying off 900 people, that means you too are struggling financially, even as a well-to-do person. And it has
Yeah.
nothing to do with how much budget you put in your game and whether or not people like your game.
Now he did make a statement which unfortunately due to rich people and greed might be true. He said this might have been done just to save the bonuses of the executive team, and I was like, oh boy.
You won't
I
know
was
that.
like I was like I
There's no
hope
way.
not, but I wouldn't be surprised.
There's no way of knowing that, and that's a reach. I mean, listen, we can say that there's corporate greed, right? Corporate greed
Yeah.
exists. You don't know which one is, which one isn't. So unless you've worked for the company that you're talking about, you really don't know. You don't know. You may hear people tell stories. Somebody can come tell you their story about their experience at said company. But you, the person presenting the information, did not work for the company. So you cannot definitively say that they're greedy. You can't. You can't speak from an experience you did not have. You can only go by the data that people give you. So therefore your perception is skewed and your perspective is jaded and disingenuous because you're not speaking from a place of experience, you're speaking of a place of surface level information. You're drawing conclusions based off what you've read, what you've heard, but you can't definitively say without a shadow of a doubt that a thing is or a thing isn't until you've worked for that company. Because not everybody's greedy, and some things that appear as greed isn't necessarily greed. It's more like, you know, trying to stay within the realm of the IRS, right? What about that portion of business that's nothing to do with video gaming?
Trying to
Where
make
some
sure.
where you feel like the company ain't paying you what you worth, or you feel like they taking money shaving off the top. You have a feeling in your gut, but the accountant of the company just happens to let you be privy to some information, and that business owner ain't doing nothing of the sort. They're trying to stay within a specific tax bracket, so when they file their taxes, they don't get audited and penalized. But you wouldn't know that as a worker on the bottom level, grunt level, because you just punching your clock every day. So I'm saying, yes, corporate greed exists. Yes. Is there corporate greed? Yes.
Through that.
But which one of them is it? You don't know until you work for them. And then if you work for them, you ain't spoke to the accountant, so you don't know. You see what I'm saying? All I'm saying is context. I'm just
Oh, I feel you. I feel you on that.
if you gonna talk on these microphones and you gonna speak on stuff, you need to speak in context. And I ain't necessarily saying have evidence and let's prove what you're saying. Nah, because that's kind of a slippery slope too. I can prove a lot of the stuff I say, but what context? I can't speak about things I haven't experienced. So how can I speak about it? How do I know if I ain't been there? And I'm talking about
Bro.
myself. So if I can check myself, why? What's everybody else's problem with checking themselves? Why open mind only checks itself? Well, that's open mind. I don't check myself. I know I'm right. Like what? Really?
He said, I know I'm right.
Like, come on. I'm not
So
gonna be the only
yeah,
person
that
out here that got some sense that doesn't just take stuff on the surface level and just run with it. I'm not gonna be the only human being that got enough sense to listen to something and not just take it at face value.
yeah. So these not and this is not the. I don't want nobody running the spawn wave being like NERDSoul don't like you or nothing like that.
That's not what this
I
is.
think he brings up some good points. I think he might be indicating some issues, but I also think that there's a larger thing at play, like you said, with the economy in general. Like we still, I know it seemed like COVID is over, but like the effects of it, the effects of the supply chain, the effects of these high rates, you know what I'm saying? The effects of the gas prices, the effects of, like all of this stuff, what I'm saying? Contracts drying up, things of that nature, layoffs, all of this stuff is connected, you know what I'm saying? You can't, you gotta spend $30 to get one carton of eggs. Like, you know what I'm saying? All this stuff is connected, and it might just be more than just a high budget. It might be a high budget as well as the people in the rat race. You know what I'm saying? So with that said, I'm gonna throw it to open mind. We gonna hit y'all with another video, but I'm gonna throw it to open mind. Let the people know where they can find you.
Open mind, spell it with a Y on Twitter X. I am Open Mind, spell it with a Y on IG. And check us out at the Fantasy Sports Podcast at The Recap. That's 2 P's. The Recap, RECAPP. Check us out, man. We are definitely calling the football game before they happen. I'm so proud of us. We're doing great. I wish y'all we need subscribers, because not necessarily that I want the views. I need the subscribers because as we grow in subscriber base, that's what really allows our channel to be monetized. I don't really want to ask somebody for no donations. I don't want to ask somebody to give us a dime. If you could just subscribe to our channel and push us to 1,000, 2,000 subs as the time goes by, and let us monetize and make our own money, that'd be fine. We ain't gotta ask nobody for nothing. Because I don't like asking people for stuff. I don't want to ask somebody for $5. Yes, that's the thing, to ask people to donate to your channel. I want to be the one person who doesn't do that. If you want to give me some money, I'll take it, but I ain't asking you for it. I'd rather get my money with my little commercials playing on my little channel. You know what I'm saying? So subscribe to us, word of mouth, the Recap Fantasy Sports Podcast. We got a TikTok page and stuff, but come check us out, man. We trying to grow.
Word up, of course. You know what I'm saying? Go over there, make sure to, if you look, it don't cost you nothing to subscribe or share or
you ain't got
put some comments or hit the like button. Come on,
you ain't gotta watch us. Just hit the subscribe button and tune us out if you want to. Just be subscribed to us. That way we can play some commercials on our channel and get some of this monetization. Like I said, subscribe to us, and you gotta like fantasy sports, because we just fantasy sports. You do not have to participate. You can turn our video off when it hits your timeline. Just become a subscriber so we can just get that monetization. That's all. We ain't asking you for nothing. I ain't asking you for no money.
Do what y'all gotta do. So I'm gonna say, look, y'all, don't go over there saying that I said something bad. Look, we ain't no hate over here. You know what I'm saying? We got love for gamers. You know what I'm saying? So I want to give a shout out to Corrupt. Corrupt is coming one of these days. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So get your hearts and minds right, because one day Corrupt is going to be here, It's gonna be dope. And
We need a fresh face
also
into it.
get your mind right for Super Ubi Island Part 2 from the homie Andrew. You know what I'm saying? That boy Drew. Yo, man, look. Y'all, look. We got black indie devs doing their thing. I'm just hyped. So, of
Word.
course, NERDSoul, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, podcast, all that jazz. Look, just holler at me. Come on through. Let's talk about games, anime, whatever. And until next time, this is from us to you saying peace.
Peace.